Wall Street is fraud, America is fraud, the world is fraud, banks are fraud, central banks are fraud. We live in an era of fraud. It's all based on fraud, and they get a percentage of the fraud. That's the business model. To suggest that there is any moral or ethical aspect to anything that's going on now is to be completely naive about the fact that we live in an era dominated by financial terrorists, jihadis of banking. They're here to kill you and themselves. They don't care because they're trained at madrasas called Princeton, Harvard, and Yale. They believe in an ideology, not the Quran, but Adam Smith, that they completely misread and interpret as something to justify their blowing themselves up. And the cost of terrorism is cheap. 9/11 only cost $500,000. The ability to borrow money and take over a company by Warren Buffett is zero. He's borrowing money at zero. He's taking all those jobs away. He's creating economic destruction because he's in financial terrorism. And that's the era that we live in today.
Vintage-based Max Keiser, the financial terrorists, the rats are back, and Max Keiser has always come to put them through the Fiat wood chipper. It is of no surprise these old decrepit Muppets, along with Lucifer's favorite Karen, are against Bitcoin. They're basically 2 feet from the grave and know that the coming change eliminates them and makes them irrelevant. Especially Munger. Jesus H. Someone call the Crypt Keeper.
Time for my finish.
Bitcoin has status on edge. Let's go look at how the cantillionaires and status try to protect themselves despite their complete lack of education, understanding, or knowledge of Bitcoin's inevitability. And here we go. Why don't we get started with the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett himself. Here is a classic.
About 5 years ago, we asked Charlie Munger, we were sitting right there, what he thought of Bitcoin, and he said, rat poison. Yeah. Back then it was about $100+ per Bitcoin. Today it's 9,000. Is it still rat poison?
Well, probably rat poison squared.
Coming from a guy who leached off the fiat system for his entire life. More from the brilliant Warren Buffett. Again, Bitcoin exposes these people. Look at this genius quote from the Oracle of Omaha himself. Bitcoin, it's ingenious, and blockchain. Oh, there we go. Blockchain is important, but Bitcoin has no unique value at all. This guy's not gonna make it.
No, I mean, it's too bad, but Bitcoin, it's ingenious, and blockchain is important, but Bitcoin has no unique value at all. It doesn't produce anything. You can stare at it all day and no little Bitcoins come out or anything like that. It's a delusion, basically.
Delusion, rat poison to fairy dust. I don't know. Has this guy had a physical lately? Is he senile? You can go verify it for yourself. That's what's amazing. There's no shadowy things about this. The entire network is audited every 10 minutes and verified. Unlike this fiat system, you can't audit the Fed. Everything's behind closed doors. The Pentagon loses $1 trillion. Woo! No biggie, guys. Sweep that shit under the rug. Oh, and let's not forget Charlie Munger, who called rat poison first. Oh, Warren Buffett's right-hand man says we should follow China's lead and ban Bitcoin. That's real cool. This guy's pro-CCP. Bitcoin's freedom. Exposed! Again, just gotta call it for what it is. A bunch of old senile degenerates who leached off the fiat system, yelling at something they don't understand, fearing what makes them irrelevant. And here we go from @Dirk_Cadlick. I mean, when Greg Foss gets poetic, I mean, it's just hard to deny it. I mean, look at this sonnet that he put together. Charlie Munger is a piece of shit, and Bitcoin has exposed him to the rest of the world. You can't put it any better. And again, Bitcoin is exposing these people because their incentives are wrong. You understand the root of all these issues, all these problems, the war on drugs, the wealth disparity, the culture war, all these things. It's a product of the fiat system, the Cantillon effect, and the people who benefit from it will do anything to protect it. Even those people who may have come to office saying they were here to change things and go after these bankers. Yeah, that's right. Don't think I forgot about you, Liz. We're going in. Here we go. We're going to start it right here with Wolf of All Streets. I don't care if you identify politically as left, right, middle, unicorn, or one-legged salamander. This shit is outrageous and on so many levels that it's difficult to even put in words. We are being intentionally played. And again, the state, the media in state's pocket. Okay? And Liz is a part of that system. The system that is corrupt, that is bankrupting people. And if they say, hi, I'm Karen, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, you tell them to go themselves. But here we go. Again, Bitcoin exposing people. Liz usually does that on her own, but man, she just hates Bitcoin. And why is that? Probably because she's a statist.
All right, a bombshell report tonight about how Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and her office coordinated testimony with the Security and Exchange Commission ahead of a Senate hearing. The Heritage Foundation
Coordinated,
project, of which I'm associated, through a FOIA request, obtained emails from Warren's office to the office of Chairman Gary Gensler 2 days before his Senate testimony back in September of 2021. The email from Warren's economic policy advisor includes a list of questions. Get this, a list of questions that Senator Warren planned to ask, along with suggested answers for the chairman of the SEC. The advisor also wrote, quote,
follow the statist
"Let me know
script.
if you're okay with the questions as currently written." 2 days later, she sent a follow-up, quote, "Let me know if it's looking like the chair has any issue with the framing of the questions. Definitely don't want to put him in a tough spot," end quote. And it appears the chairman didn't have any issue with these questions because Senator Warren asked almost verbatim from the email. Check this out.
Chair Gensler, advocates say crypto markets are all about financial inclusion, but the people who are
Can't make this shit up.
economically vulnerable are the ones who are most likely to have to withdraw their money the fastest when the market drops. Does this sound like the path to financial inclusion to you?
Oh yeah, good old Liz wants to talk about financial inclusion because of all the good she's done in her time in office. If we go from around 2008 when she entered, it looks like the country's more divided, wealth disparity has increased, inflation, woo! Don't talk about the national debt, that's bad news. Keynesians don't think debt matters either. And, oh, she wants you to freeze to death and starve, has ignored the benefit of Bitcoin in energy grids in New Hampshire and Texas and Florida and Wyoming. And now we have Mississippi and all across the country. You're becoming a dying breed, Liz. Going the way of the dinosaur. We got to get that rat poison to get rid of all these rats. And again, the virtue signaling for the energy FUD. And we're going to do a whole piece on that. We don't have enough time to do that in an episode today. But we will attack the energy FUD very soon and destroy Liz Warren again because we love it. We love that because, I don't know, despise is a strong word. Loathe. I would say I loathe. And yes, even though the shady things behind closed doors with Liz and the state Lucifer's mistress at Senator Warren and her right-hand executioner, the SEC, cannot stop Bitcoin. Now, what is it? We get this, but there's also more people opening up to Bitcoin, its idea, how it promotes freedom and liberty and free markets, and benefits anyone who takes part in the system. And while Liz and some other statists are being exposed for who they are and how they want to step in and tell you how to live your life and to tell you how to spend your money, etc., it's also showing us other people who are on board with freedom, understand the technology, and see how Bitcoin may just be American as f***. And let's see what another senator had to say.
These authoritarians hate Bitcoin and they hate crypto, and it's for the same reason. Why do they hate Joe Rogan? Because they can't control him. He's not subject to their authoritarian power. Why do they hate Bitcoin? Because they can't control it. It is a system of currency outside of the monopoly control of the U.S. government. And I got to say, as I've addressed, I spoke at a big crypto conference. Understand, this administration, I believe, is going to go after you and is going to try to destroy you. And by the way, that's a pattern of authoritarians. China, communist China, outlawed Bitcoin for the exact same reason. Why does Elizabeth Warren
Bitcoin
hate
exposes
Bitcoin?
status.
For the same reason that she and China hates Bitcoin, because neither one of them can control it. And the theme through all of this is the power of freedom to be not subject to the arbitrary whims of those in government power.
Anyone against Bitcoin is also against freedom and human flourishment. I love that they tagged Warren right here. Maybe she'll come around. We'll see. We'll see. Because if not, I mean, she's just a fraud. Is she about equity? Is she about financial inclusion? I don't know. Right, Liz? I mean, you're not a fraud, are you? I think old Jack Mallers might have put it best, you know, because Liz Warren should be a Bitcoiner, right? She's a lightning maximalist. She wants open and fair value transfer on distributed payment standard. And if she isn't, well, exposed! And old Liz has got to be careful too, because sometimes the enemy of your enemy can become best friends. And she is creating an interesting duo. Bitcoin mining's energy use has more than tripled since 2019, consuming as much energy as entire countries. Here we go, Liz. We're boiling the oceans. It's even driving up electricity costs and harming local environments. I want 6 crypto mining companies to provide answers on their impact. But we can't audit the Fed, but she wants to see, you know, is she asking about your dryer? What about your Xbox? How much emissions is your Xbox? This is highly regarded stuff. But here we go. Here it comes.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep. Do you want to go do karate in the garage? Yep.
Oh, that is great stuff. And here we go. Elizabeth Warren comes in here, interview. She's trying to describe how Bitcoin is like imaginary or fairy dust or something. But inadvertently, she describes fiat. It's pretty incredible.
If I buy Bitcoin, am I buying a share of stock? Or am I buying a pork belly? Or am I buying...
It's like buying air.
What am I
Are
buying?
you buying air?
Oh, wow. Okay, you're going in. What
I'm
is
going in.
Yeah, what is
Smelly
it?
pirate
That's
hooker.
the point, is that it's, you're buying something that other people believe either is going to go up in value, presumably that's why you're buying it, or think it's going to go down in value, which is presumably why someone else is selling it. But that's it. It's a bet on
Just
whether
brilliant stuff.
this ephemeral token will become more valuable or less valuable.
Well, one thing we know, Elizabeth Warren is becoming less valuable as time goes by. And here we go. People who think Bitcoin is fraudulent or a Ponzi should really spend just a little bit of time looking into the dollar and modern currencies. Look at the knowledge Jon Stewart dropped, and it looks like this what used to be kind of obscure knowledge, this knowledge of how money works and where it comes from, these Austrian economic principles that were complete counterculture are starting to come in, and people from different sides of the political spectrum are all starting to have these ideas incepted or become intrigued by it. And it's because of the situation the state has put everyone in recently, and how fiat has been the greatest advertisement for Bitcoin in and of itself. But here comes Jon Stewart dropping some logic and showing some intrigue and curiosity into this question of our lifetimes and the timeline we got dropped in on. What is money?
How much currency that has been sort of created out of thin air has been added into this economy through the Fed? What would you put as a figure? Would it be 6 trillion? Is that too much?
Listen up, Liz.
6 trillion in terms of deposits with the banks and currency. Be 6 to 7 trillion.
Okay. That they're just injecting into it sort of out of nothing.
Out of nothing. They're the central bank of the United States. Now, think about it. It's just another form of government debt. Am I making sense?
It makes sense in the make-believe world of Conjuring. Like, there is a certain part of this that all feels like a mirage to some extent. Do you know what I mean? It all seems sort of fake.
Well, it's a fiduciary system. It's all faith-based, right?
Oh, my Lord.
Yes, you got to have confidence in that currency, in that dollar, because there's nothing backing. There's no gold backing.
So it's in some ways it's a mass delusion.
Well,
and it's losing confidence by more and more people all over the world by the day. And again, like Ted Cruz was saying earlier, why do these people hate Bitcoin? How does it expose them? You know, you have these people that promote freedom and liberty and free markets and these things, and you have people who say that we know better. We can dictate your life for you better than you can. And this little statement right here is great. We want people to make their own investments, but Karen wants to tell you what to do with your life. She knows better for you what to do. Sounds narcissistic. Maybe she's a psychopath.
People can make their own investment decisions, but
She makes me sick. God, I can't stand that woman. And here's some more, a little more exposure. Again, Bitcoin exposing status and frauds for who they are because it's such an honest system. It exposes others to what their true incentives are.
Because Bitcoin is a threat to their racket. And the racket is they have the privilege to be able to create money for free that us citizens, us peasants have to work for. And Bitcoin provides a strong alternative to that, which has much better incentives. And they know that if it was a fair competition, Bitcoin would annihilate the competition. That's why they can't make it fair. That's why they're using the government's monopoly on violence and the government's ability to coerce in an attempt to at least slow down the adoption. And that's exactly what it was. But thank God we have people on our side of the aisle that are fighting the good fight and calling out Elizabeth Warren for the fraud that she is, for the lies and the misrepresentations.
Good old Buffett, Munger, and Liz, they're a part of that little group, that big club that we're not a part of. Those people that don't believe in a debt ceiling, that think inflation is good for society. And now people can't afford eggs. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna increase the money supply, causing more inflation in your eggs to go up more. Get the hell out of this rat race. Adopt Bitcoin. Money that retains and gains value over time is a deflationary currency. They hate it because they ain't it. This is the type of future these people want for you.
It accelerates the process of digitalization and automatization. It legitimizes the deployment of mass surveillance, even in democratic countries, and it makes surveillance go under your skin.
The Federal Reserve is considering a digital dollar. The implications for privacy and freedom are frightening.
This is Richard Werner, the top academic scholar in the world on central banking.
The nature of this CBDC, what is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it. And it was around this large and would be implanted under your skin.
CBDC. If that happens, we're done.
And that's why we're so emphatic when we say it's Bitcoin or slavery. You know, maybe Warren Buffett and the original Tales from the Crypt host Charlie Munger were right. Bitcoin's rat poison. Well, if the adage holds, the central banks are the diseased rats stealing time and value from the populace like a plague. Financial despotism can be terrible. It may come in the form of purposeful inflation, persecutory capital regulations, banking cartel defaults, or direct governmental expropriation. Unfortunately, these risks exist in practically every country around the globe. But once the state is withdrawn from the monetary sector and loses the capacity to establish legal tender, it can only conduct legislative and enforcement activities that do not immorally influence a currency. For example, war taxes and domestic escapades can't be funded by debasing the currency. This proof-of-stake fiat society has us, as Max said, looking like Madonna at the Grammys.
Whole journey of America is one of hard work and prudence and probity
proof of work.
Proof of work.
Now it's proof of stake.
Now it's just proof of stake. And that transition to proof of stake is now resulted in the entire country now looks like Madonna.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like Madonna at the Grammys. There's so many fillers, so much facelifts, so many manipulations. I mean, this is what America now. Madonna is the face of America because there's no accountability. There's no grounding to reality. It's like we can keep getting facelifts forever, and let's not look in the mirror, and let's pretend that this is not a grotesque deformation of the material girl from the 19th.
Much like the Second Amendment is the ultimate protection of free individuals to avoid supreme political repression or early antibiotic treatments that can help quell plague, a formidable tool is necessary to prevent state monetary domination. This responsibility has passed to an open source protocol based on encryption and peer-to-peer computing. Bitcoin offers this protection as a decentralized, apolitical unit of account. When plagued by rats, it's best to have a little poison on hand. And if you'd like to dig into how Elizabeth Warren is against freedom a little more, go check this shit out. I'll catch you all next time. Let's rickroll these rats.